Today I'm going to be talking to you guys a little bit about my mental health story. I have been mentally and physically abused in my past, and it's been a very difficult journey. I never thought, like 10 years ago, that I would be able to speak upon this now, but I have grown a lot in my adult life and I'm becoming more aware of my mental health and how to cope with it. So I feel way more open to speak about this. Obviously not going super deep into details because I feel like that's unnecessary, but just what I went through and how I was able to cope through it and how I'm continually coping with it even today. So that's basically what this video is going to be about. So keep listening or watching if this is of interest to you. I've also been gaslighted for most of my life, and it's been extremely difficult. For those of you who don't know what gaslighting is, I'm gonna pull it up real quick on my phone to basically describe what gaslighting is for those of you who are unaware. My phone will work. Sorry. So basically it's defined as making someone question their own reality. The term may also be described a person who presents a false narrative to another group or person which leads them to doubt their perceptions and become misled, disoriented, or distressed. So basically what gaslighting is in simpler terms is when somebody is trying to manipulate the way you think and question your own reality, your own thoughts. Like you may have a certain opinion and they might make you, or not make you, but like in some ways sort of try and force you to see things their way. And I'm not saying like somebody have differing opinions, because that's different, but it's like to an extreme where you can't have any other opinion except for what they want you to believe or think. And that's when it's very dangerous. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're being gaslit and it's very toxic to you, and you start to question your own thoughts, your own reality, whether what you're doing is right because you're too scared of offending that person, and it's to an extreme where either you're scared to what they're going to do to you or what they're going to say, and it's going to be extremely harsh. Those are all examples of gaslighting. Also, when somebody may make negative remarks towards you or about you, and you may take offense, and they'll be like, well, you're just too sensitive, and they'll like, people that gaslight you are very quick to invalidate your feelings, which is also another thing that's very, very dangerous. They usually don't want to listen to what you have to say, and it's either their way or their highway most of the times. So it's a very scary situation. And then also there was the fact that my parents divorced I was at a very young age. I was like maybe about 5 or 6 when they actually had their divorce. So that trauma and everything else, and there was a lot of chaos and dysfunction in my family growing up, and there was even times where my parents would call the cops on each other, and it was just total chaos, and it was just one thing after another, and it was like I was always caught in the middle, and it was just very hard, very, 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 very hard. So I was dealing with that for years, the abuse, emotionally, physically, being gaslighted, manipulated, controlled. I didn't know what to think, who to turn to, what to do. It was a very difficult situation. I've also sought out therapy off and on from the time I was a little girl to my teenagehood, even into my adulthood, but for many different reasons. But back to my mental health diagnosis part of the story. So I left the toxic environment. I would say around age 22 and 23. It's kind of blurry now because some time has passed, obviously, but around that age, I definitely left. But before leaving, I actually ironically already had my diagnosis for several mental health disorders. I was diagnosed with persistent depressive disorder, as well as anxiety and ADHD, and I was diagnosed with all 3 of those at the age of 21. So I knew at 21 I had all of these issues, but I didn't know how to deal with them, how to cope with them, what to do from that point on. I just had a diagnosis and papers, and that was it, and I didn't know what to do. One quick thing before I get into that, I also forgot to mention I did try medication in the past for coping with my anxiety, because I did get a diagnosis in my adult life for that and some other things as well. And I must say, medication is not for everyone, but if you do try it and find one that works for you, that's totally great. But if you just tried everything, or you try one, you're not like it, and you just feel like medication is not for you, that's okay too. And I'm one of those people that tried medication and was just turned off from my bad experience. I really didn't want to go the medicated route because I really don't want to be on medication for the rest of my life just to cope with life. So that was my personal decision, because I had really weird, bad side effects from this one medication, where I was experiencing a little bit of insomnia, trouble sleeping, and I feel like even more anxiety than I already had, and even suicidal thoughts. So it was really bad. But now, having left the toxic environment, I'm becoming way more aware of my issues, my problems, my mental health, and I'm really trying to find answers and really trying to learn how to cope with what I'm going through. And I feel like awareness is the first step, because once you're aware, then you can fix, not necessarily always fix, but at least work on the problem. When you're in denial, or where you don't know there's a problem, then you're less likely to work on it. That's just kind of common sense. So now at this stage of my life, in my mid to late 20s, that's when I'm finally buckling down, trying to work through, resolve some of this childhood trauma and issues that I have now as an adult, so I can be there not only for myself, but for my husband and for even my own children too. So now I'm gonna go over a few ways that you can cope with your mental health. If you are feeling stressed, you're feeling unwell, you feel like something is just a little bit off with you, whether you're diagnosed or not with the actual mental disorder or not, these are all ways that can help you personally, that I'm implementing right now, or I've used in the past, or I've done before, that you can do as well. So I'm going to go into those now. So I'm going to mention this again. I mentioned it before. This is an optional choice. It's not for everyone, but one choice is medication. If you really feel like you need medication, because some people can't live without it. However, it's totally optional, because I feel like it wasn't for me, but it may be for you. So if you want to go that route, you can try it. If it doesn't work for you, don't feel totally discouraged or hopeless that it didn't work for you, because it personally didn't work for me. But it's not to say there's not a medication out there for you. One of the biggest things I'd have to say is a great coping mechanism, though, for depression, anxiety, whatever you may be going through, is definitely having a support system. Having a sounding board, having someone, like whether it's a group of people, a support group, or just your close friends or family, somebody that you can really trust, though, that will just hear you out with your problems, with the issues, that fully understands what you're going through, fully understands your makeup as far as your depression, your anxiety, ADHD, whatever it is, that they understand, and they actually give you good sound advice to help you cope with it. Or even if they don't give you advice, they just hear you out and they let you vent. And sometimes they're just like a person there that really hears you out, even though it might be really difficult to talk to somebody. You should never go through your mental health journey alone, because I feel like having a support system is like one of the best things you can do. And that leads me to my next suggestion, is seeking therapy. And I know too, this isn't totally optional, because therapy is not for everyone. And I have had bad therapists or psychologists over the years. Some that were like, some that were like, definitely no, I'm never going back to you, because we just didn't mesh, our personalities they clash, or they just didn't understand me, where I was coming from. So make sure when you're seeking therapy that you find the right therapist or psychologist for you, that truly understands you, hears you out, unbiased, and really listens. Because if you find one that, doesn't do those things and you feel like giving up, just keep looking for another therapist that will work for you, and don't give up, because there are some really great ones out there that I have even found over the years. And my last suggestion, probably should be one of the easiest of all, doesn't cost anything for the most part, is find something you love. Find something you really, really enjoy doing that can take your mind away from your mental illness or whatever you're going through, whether it's depression, anxiety, anything. Like if you like to paint, if you like to draw, if you like to just ride your bike, go outside, get some fresh air, fish, just do something you really enjoy and spend time doing it. And that can even help your mood, to help you feel better, to feel happier, and not to feel so down on yourself. And I find doing things that I love, especially on a more regular basis, which I know it's really hard when you have responsibilities, but to try to make time for yourself, to do those things you enjoy, will really affect your mood and can be a really huge game changer or life changer. So definitely try that out. So thank you for listening to my mental health story. I know I kept it very vague to the point. That's because I didn't really want to go too much into detail, because I feel like stating the basics was enough, and I'm not here trying to blab off or point the finger at anyone, because now at this point in my life, it's totally on me how I take care of my mental health. It's no longer the people that affected me, their responsibility. And even though I have many bad effects from how I was treated in the past, it doesn't have to affect my future continually. So you are you choose your future. You choose where you're going, where you're headed, you choose how you react to the situation, whether it was a bad situation, whether you feel like you've had the worst life ever. You can definitely overcome. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, because this is meant to be a message of hope, how you can cope and keep going. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.